Welcome to the JBJ Management Podcast, and today our guest is Jeamy Molina. Jamie and I have a history, but she's a big baller now. She is, what's your title at DART?
The EVP and Chief Communications Officer.
See, that's Executive Vice President. That's different than Vice President. That's different than Senior Vice President. It's Executive Vice President. And you've got so much of DART under you. What does that mean to you in terms of responsibility and how you feel about it every day, Jamie?
It's a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly, but I'm in this position because of everyone that's helped me get here, right? I have a strong mother who raised me, strong single mother who raised me. I'm the oldest of four, and I've always had that responsibility, right? So I'm the person that has showed my family what's capable and what's possible. And so I carry that with me in everything that I do. And so at DART, we have under the communications team, the full marketing team, which includes our business and corporate sales team. We have the community and government relations team, and then our PR team that has social, website, media, internal, and then communication strategy. So it's really the backbone behind making sure our writers, our stakeholders, the communities we work in know who DART is and what we do.
And the narrative is so important. The story that's told for DART, because oftentimes, and we say this, DART gets the blame. So how do you flip the script?
Well, that's something that I've seen, and I think, I've worked for a lot of agencies where we're the ones that people are going to blame for everything that's going on. So I think it's something I'm used to. But DART is such a powerful asset for our community and the people who use DART, not just the people that don't have another option and rely on DART, right? Because there are a ton of people that need it to get to work, to get to school. I see it in my community. They're getting, and I've worked at Parkland, so I know how important it is to the nurses and doctors at Parkland to be able to use DART. But we just released yesterday a UNT study that says we've brought in over $1 billion of investment to our 13 service area cities, economic investment that powers this region. And that's so important and something that I wish a lot more people understood.
With that said, that took me to two people. One, Commissioner John Wiley Price, who is an advocate for DART, because he says where transportation goes, there goes development. But I want to focus on Jack Matthews and Matthews Southwest for just a moment, because I remember in a conversation with Jack, the Cedar Station, he said, was the reason that he wanted to develop the Cedars. It wasn't called the Cedars then. The station was called Cedars. But it was all because of DART. It was a DART station. And to your point, Jamie, what has come out of that? There are market rate apartments and condos there on Bellevue. On the other side of the DART station, there's workforce housing. Then you have Southside on Lamar, which is the largest loft complex in America, and it's 98% occupied. The Dallas Police Station, the headquarters, is walking distance from there. There are the Southside Flat apartments. There's the Alamo Draft House. There's Gillies. I mean, I'm going on here.
Stop.
It's about development. So
That's
to
right.
your point, that could happen in any of the 13 cities.
It can, and I think it's a huge focus of where Nadine is trying to make sure we're headed, trying to make sure that we're creating, per her strategic plan, fantastic spaces in all of these 13 service area cities. How do we create areas where people are able to live and work and play that are centered around transit? Think about this. Anytime you go to a city like New York or Chicago, do you rent a car? Mostly no, right? Mostly,
True.
maybe you will. Maybe
No, because I don't want to drive.
Have a driver.
No, I don't want to drive in Chicago. I don't want to drive in L.A. I don't want to drive in New York.
Right,
I don't.
Right. My point is, transit's there, and you don't have to schedule your life around it. because you know that it's coming and you have an option and you've got tons of options, or they're more walkable. So how do we bring that here? And yes, DART has a lot of work to do, and we know that. We need to be providing transit on a much more frequent basis for it to feel like that, like it does in other cities. But that's where we need to get to, and that's what we're striving to get to.
Now, some of that, though, is the culture of the city, not necessarily DART's problem. It's just where DART is. I don't know if these statistics still exist, but years ago, there used to be a large percentage of people who live in the area who had 3 cars and a 3-car garage. And we love our vehicles. And so it makes us less likely to get on DART. How do you encourage ridership to increase?
Yeah, it's a huge culture thing across, call it Texas, right? But especially here in North Texas, it's a huge culture thing because we're used to having our cars. But it goes back to, how do we make transit an option for everybody, not just those that are dependent on it, but how do we make it an option for me, for you? We have cars, but if the train was coming by my house every 2 minutes, yeah, why not take the train in? It's right there. By investing in safety, we added 100 transit security officers over the summer. We've got 200 police officers, fare enforcement officers. We're creating presence on the system so people feel more safe and more comfortable. Under Charlie Cato's direction, he's really changing around what our police department and our fare enforcement officers really mean to how they're integrating with the community and working with all of our cities, right? He's not doing this is the DART PD.
Right.
He's working with each city's PD to make sure they understand what we're doing, how we can help them, and vice versa. Bernard Jackson, bringing in all of his knowledge from across, he's worked at every huge transit agency in the country. His clean teams are bringing in a presence to make sure that, if we see things that need to be fixed, let's clean them, let's fix them, let's send us what's going on. So Nadine's built a team around her of people that know how to do this and are working really hard to make sure that our riders and our stakeholders know we're doing everything we can and have in our power to make sure we're building a better customer experience for our riders.
When you talk about safety, one of the first things that comes up is DART safe. So I wonder how many people know that you've added all of these transit offices, that DART is safe.
Yeah, and so when you think about safety too, it's not incidents happen because of DART. It's incidents that are happening in every one of our cities, right? Safety and crime is something that happens in each city. And so when Chief is trying to figure out, how to deploy his folks, and, we won't get into any of how he does that, but we know that there's going to be areas where there's crime because there's crime in those cities and there's crime in those areas. So of course we're trying to make sure that we're building more presence, adding more security, adding more personnel. Just the personnel on the system is a big deterrent to a lot of what's going on. And something that we're seeing right now is back to customers and their habits and kind of the culture, making sure that we're aware of where we're at and that we have everything with us. We're seeing a large stuff of people leaving their computers or leaving them out in the open. And so just be aware of where you're at, know where your belongings are, make sure you're picking everything up as you're getting off the train and on our buses. But again, building some of that culture and pushing that message out to our riders.
How are you guys, the executive team, Nadine and the executive team, dealing with this pushback? There's a little pushback in some cities saying, well, I'm not getting what I need. And so we want to, and this is just talk. They have not been able to do that. How are you handling the pushback on some of the cities? From the cities.
Yeah, I think acknowledging that we understand they have problems with DART is one, right? We have to acknowledge that there are issues that they foresee with either what DART is doing in their cities or the value or the services that we're bringing to those cities. So step one, acknowledge the problem. And we understand that and we know that. Step two is, now what do we do to fix it, right? cutting revenue doesn't help us fix any of the problems.
No.
Because you can't cut revenue and keep services the way they are.
Right.
And so we're working with all of our cities. Nadine is meeting with all of the stakeholders in each city to find out what is it that you need from DART to feel like you are getting the value that you want or perceive or need. And then what do we do to try to address some of those things? For about over a year, we've been working on area plans with each one of the cities that says, here's what I need in Rowlett, here's what I need in Irving, here's what I need in Plano, with their city staff to tell us, here's where DART could help us improve on some of these areas, or here's where we think there should be more routes or bus stops. But we have to work together to solve these problems, and we need to do it here at home, because getting others involved is only going to make it more complicated.
Do you guys ever compare yourself to Metro in DC or the subway in New York or MARTA in Atlanta? Are you making any comparisons?
We look at all of those systems to find out what they're doing correct for us to see if there's something that we can do and kind of make here in Dallas and across the 13 cities. No two systems are the same.
Sure.
Right? We don't have a subway. We do have one of the largest light rail systems, but our bus system is what's the backbone of our system and how it's getting everyone to and from. So how do we improve on that? How do we get to, again, this frequency where people don't have to, and it's going to take a long time, and of course it takes money to do this, but where you're not thinking about the schedule, you're able to know that, within 10 minutes, there's going to be a bus coming, there's going to be a train coming. You need to get to that frequency so people can know that it'll be there and rely and depend on it.
What are the chances, Jamie? Because I never hear about this. What are the chances of adding more cities to DART? I say that from a census standpoint. Dallas-Fort Worth is said to be on the verge, on the precipice of being the fourth largest metropolitan area, maybe the third, surpassing Chicago in the next 8, 10, 12 years. What does that mean for DART? And what are the chances of adding, I don't want to mention a city, but maybe 3 or 4 other cities?
Yeah. So that the logistics of that are something that have to go through board approval. The board is there's a specific rule that the board would have to change to allow for that. I think one of the great things that's happening with Transit 2.0 and Michael Morris's study is that he's looking at that. How do we look at the governance of our agencies right now to figure out, should we be adding more? What could we be doing differently? And we've been giving him our feedback as to what we think is possible throughout this entire process. So we're really looking forward to what that means and the kind of power that could have to change what we're doing now and how we try to leverage our already our system to be able to bring in other systems. Is it an ad hoc thing where we say a city would really only like to see certain bus routes through here, right? So okay, let's bring that into one city. So they're not you're completely bringing in a city, but you're giving them the things that they need because we have them already. We know how to run a bus system. We have a paratransit. We just picked up Transdev to do a huge. They're running all of our paratransit stuff in GoLink now, right? So how do we leverage the things that we're already doing and the capacity that DART brings to other cities as well?
Let me turn the page a little bit. You have a son.
I do.
How old?
3. He just turned 3.
You're the executive vice president of all of this stuff you're doing at DART.
Yeah.
You have a son that's 3.
Yeah.
How does that work?
My mom, right? Luckily, I wouldn't be anywhere without her. It's rough. It definitely is. The poor kid. I have mom guilt for sure. Catholic. I've got all the guilt. But he'll be like, grab my phone and walk away. He's like, no phone, and I'm like, okay.
Oh wow.
So that hits hard. That hurts a little bit. But I try to make sure that for the duration of the time when I come home, at least 2 hours or whatever it is before he goes to bed, I'm present with him, knowing that I'm going to be working again or later or early in the morning. Nadine has been incredible on knowing that I have the flexibility with her that if I need to leave because of my son or something comes up, I get to do that. And not everybody has that kind of leader, but she empowers us to know that yes, work is important, but if it's not okay at home, your work is going to kind of falter as well. And so it's a balancing act. He's doing little soccer classes now, and he just started preschool, so it's a whole new world, and it's fun to watch him grow.
As he grows, I can remember my oldest son is now 42, but he still reminds me. I was on a business trip, and I missed his freshman basketball game. And I called after the game to see how they did. He said, "We lost. You weren't here."
Oh, no. Oh, no.
He was 13.
Yeah.
But he still talks about it at 42. So just remember that.
Yeah.
Try to make all of the games, the dance recitals, the soccer game, whatever it is. I mean, it's now. So let me flip the script a little further. Go to page 3. I've noticed. So there's Nadine, there's D. Leggett, there's Jamie. That's the core, and there are others. But that's the core of the leadership at DART. Dallas is on the precipice of the first Black female city manager. Come November 5th, maybe,
We're
America.
all wearing our pearls and Chucks.
So there could be a female president of the United States. What's going on, Jamie? What are we missing something? What's happening? There appears to be
I think it's called It's About Time. I think it's called It's About Time. I think you can't run an agency like DART if you don't have a team around you that knows what they're doing and has the CEO support and vice versa, knowing that the CEO supports them. Our leadership team at DART, I'm so proud to say, is predominantly women, predominantly people of color. And I'd have to look back, but maybe that's the first time that's ever happened at an agency like DART, an agency in Dallas of its size. And that's so important because each of us brings different perspectives to the table. When you have a team that has people that are coming in that aren't from Dallas, right? Nadine's from different agencies. Bernard Jackson is from different agencies. You need people like a D and people like me that have been here for so long that know how Dallas works to be able to tell them kind of the ins of how a Dallas works. But Nadine has built a team that supports her, supports the vision, knows how important DART is to the region. And we are working our tails off to make sure that we continue to keep pushing DART forward.
Final question. Fall of 2034. Where's Jamie?
Ooh, I'm a comms major at math. What is that, like 20 years from now?
10.
10. There you go. See? See? I was like, what year is this? I hope throughout my career I've been able to work at some pretty big Dallas firms, agencies. And my end game at each one was to make a difference with the people we were serving, with the agency itself, within the agency, changing the way that things worked within an agency. And I hope 10 years from now I'm doing that. My son will be a teenager. Oof.
13.
Yeah, so I foresee a lot
at
less
a freshman
college.
basketball game. Don't miss it.
I know. I love college game days, so I foresee missing college game days. So I'm gonna have to get up early on Saturdays to go somewhere. I'll have my phone, but I think that's what I want to continue to make a difference. I want to continue to work for agencies that are supporting the well-being of this region and the people of this region. Because if you're not doing that, what are you doing?
Jamie, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Jamie Molina, the Executive Vice President of everything at DART. She's our guest today. Thanks very much.